I've been on a bit of a mission recently, trying to showcase the best options for players who want to go J-Space ratting. We've had a look at everything from C1, C2, C13, C3, and even a couple of Marauder fits for C5s, but C3s tend to be the one that a lot of people ask me about, and I've been trying to find a lot of different alternative options for players that aren't necessarily as expensive as, say, a Rattlesnake or a Tech 3 strategic cruiser. And in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing one of my favourites that I've found. I'm going to be looking at the Minmatar Republic's Vagabond, their heavy assault cruiser that uses projectile turrets. I am a bit of a Minmatar fanboy, so getting to showcase this ship in a new and exciting light is always going to be a good thing for me. I've been running it in Abyssal Dead Spaces quite a lot recently, so taking it out into J-Space ratting felt like the logical next step. Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome back to another video for EVE Online. In today's video we're going to be taking the Vagabond out for another spin. Recently I showcased this running Abyssal Dead Spaces and I had such a great time with it. I thought to myself, I wonder if this can run C3 combat anomalies in J-Space. Turns out yes it can, it does it really well. I'm going to show you the fit and I'm going to give you tips on how to run all 4 of the combat sites. Because a lot of people have said to me, hang on Benzie, you always show the Fortification Frontier Stronghold. I know a lot of ships can run that one, but all of my corp mates and my friends are running those ones already. What ship can I use that will do the other sites? Well, the Vagabond is going to do all 4 sites, so your friends can go and do the Fortification Frontiers while you're running the Solar Cells, the Oruze Constructs, and the Outpost Frontier Strongholds. How cool is that, right? I also just want to take a brief moment to say I am going to FanFest this year. I am so super hyped and excited about this. FanFest 2023, celebrating 20 years of EVE Online. I am going to be in Iceland from the 21st to the 23rd of September 2023. If you are going as well, hit me up in the comment section, hit me up on Discord, however you want to get in contact. I'd love to meet up with you folks, maybe share a beer and talk about all things EVE Online. Now, if you do enjoy this video, please let me know. Hit like, drop a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you do want to go the extra mile to help support this channel and help me keep making content like this, you can head to my Patreon page, my PayPal tip jar, or my Redbubble merchandise store. Finally, if you're a new player who's found my channel for the first time, I do have a referral link in the description down below. Click that, you'll get 1 million free skill points for your account. It can work for existing accounts as long as you haven't used a referral link beforehand. Yes, it works with Steam. I do get a small kickback for it, but it's mainly getting you the million skill points to get off the ground that I am excited about. Beyond that, if you want to come and join us in Catskull, join the Discord in the link down below as well. We love to chat with new players, and if you want to join the corporation, that's how you do it. Anyway, all of that said and done, long ass intro, let's jump right in to talking about the Minmatar Republic's heavy assault cruiser, the Vagabond. Heavy assault cruisers are some of my favourite ships in EVE Online. I love the heavy assault cruiser class, and it has become my next goal to fully max out all 8 of the different heavy assault cruisers. Obviously not including any of the faction ones like the Ikater, so I think that takes it to 9 heavy assault cruisers. I'm sure it's just 9, but I'm sure someone will correct me if there are ones that I have forgotten about. This means that recently I actually got the heavy assault cruiser skill all the way up to level 5, so I am doing even better with these ships. But anyway, enough about me and my love for heavy assault cruisers, let's talk about the Vagabond. So the Vagabond itself, being a heavy assault cruiser, has a roll bonus for the ability to use assault damage controls. I'm not going to spend too long talking about this, but it is worth briefly touching on it. Essentially, an assault damage control is similar to a damage control unit in that it gives you hull, armor, and shield damage resistances as a passive, but unlike the standard damage control unit, you can also activate it. You'll activate it for just around 9 seconds, and during that time, it pushes all of your resistances right the way up. It does go on a massive 150-second cooldown, and it can only be fitted to anything that counts as an assault cruiser or an assault frigate. So you can see there the list of these ships. Ah, there we are, yeah, the Adrestia, the Bestia, those are ones that I'm still going to need to learn how to fly in that, aren't I? Those are going to be hard to get. Oh, and the Vangel. Oh joy, good fun times looking for me going forward into flying those. So assault damage controls, very powerful little module. I will talk about that more in the fitting section. Understand what it is because we are going to be using one on this fit. We then get bonuses for Minmatar Cruiser. To fly the Vagabond, you need Minmatar Cruiser 5 minimum, so you are going to have a 25% bonus to medium projectile turret rate of fire and a 37.5% bonus to shield booster amount. This should tell you that this is going to be an active shield tanking ship, and we're going to be using medium projectile turrets. That's pretty straightforward, right? If we then look at the heavy assault cruiser skill, I've just got this to 5. I would recommend getting this at least to 4, but the heavy assault cruisers do really sing once you get them all the way to 5. They are big bonuses and well worth training up that 5 if you like these ships. So we're getting a 12.5% bonus per level to medium projectile turret fall off, a little bit of extra range from that, and a 5% bonus to medium projectile turret damage. So again, that's 37.5% additional fall off, and fall off really favours autocannons, and a 25% bonus to the medium projectile turret damage. That's on top of the 25% rate of fire that you're already getting. That is some serious damage output, really great fun ship to fly. This is also a very small and very fast moving vessel as well, which means you can kind of signature tank really effectively, and you're going to have an assault damage control unit as well in order to just really have that oh damn button when you really need to press it. Anyway, enough of hinting at the fit, let's actually take a look at it. So this is the fit that we're going to be showcasing, and before we talk about the fit, I just want to address the elephant in the room with the skin. Yeah, I know, I've gone for the Heartbreaker skin, vibrant metallic pink with white detailing, and you might be thinking, hang on Benzie, why on earth have you done that? I thought you said you like the Thukker skin. I do, I really like the Thukker tribe skins, and the Vagabond therefore comes with one of my favourite skins pre-installed, but pink is also my favourite colour. And I know that there's a lot of connotations with that, but I do love just that soft cherry blossom pink. I think that's a really cool colour, and I am a bit partial to sort of the hot, vibrant metallic pink that's on the Vagabond here as well with this skin. It just looks amazing, and I don't care if you think there's some connotations with that. It is what it is. It's just a colour. Get over yourselves. Anyway, enough about the colour. Let's talk about the fit. So, because the Vagabond gets bonuses to medium projectiles, of course we're going to be running those, and the fall-off bonus, twinned with the fact that we get really nice active tank, does suggest to me that we should theoretically be looking kind of a brawling fit here for the Vagabond. So that's exactly what I've gone for. We have 5 high slots that are turret hardpoints and a utility high slot. The turret hardpoints I have fitted with 425mm AutoCannon IIs. I do strongly recommend having the autocannons, the Tech 2 autocannons fitted for this, because they give you the ability to use barrage and hail, and we love hail. All hail, hail. Load hail, never fail, as they say. And I mean, look at it, you can see why. With this fit, I'm getting 777 DPS with a fall-off range of 21 kilometers. Now, you may be wondering why I've said that fall-off suggests a projectile turret, sorry, an autocannon fit. Essentially, when you look at the artillery cannons, they have a lot of optimal and then pretty good fall-off, but you want the optimal to be better when it comes to using projectile artillery. When you're looking at autocannons, however, they have an incredibly short optimal range. We don't get much, 25% bonus to optimal range does very little when your basic optimal range is 1,650. On the other hand, the fall-off means that you can be further away from the target. You can go into that fall-off range and still be applying absolutely monstrous damage. And on the subject of monstrous damage, again, 777 DPS, which goes down to about 50% effective at 21 kilometers. That's just insanely good. We're going to be orbiting anywhere around sort of the 500 to 5,000 meter mark, depending on what targets we go up against. That will get decent application with this and very high damage. And because we're going up against sleepers, we don't need to worry about things like phased plasma or EMP because they've got omni resists. So again, load hail, never fail, unless you need barrage. Then load barrage. The utility high slot that I've gone for is of course a core probe launcher, just so I can scan down and exit if a wormhole collapses behind me. If I need to warp to a safe and do a quick log off, for example, I can do so and then come back in later and scan down and exit and flee that way. If you're ratting in J-Space, I strongly recommend a core probe launcher fitted to that utility high slot. Ultimately, you could put a Nosferatu here. I don't think the fit really needs it, as you'll see in a moment, but it could be useful, and maybe use a mobile depot to refit between the core probe launcher and the Nosferatu. Yeah, to me though, that's just more of your cargo space being taken up with stuff that you just don't need. The Nosferatu can have its uses. I've never needed to yet. The core probe launcher is more than sufficient. It's going to do things nicely for us. Because we have bonuses to shield boosters, of course we're going active tank. I've gone for a Pithum C-type medium shield booster here. This gives us 224 HP every 3 seconds. You can see if I go into the thing here, shield boost rate, we're looking at 74.7. Again, I did want to kind of see if I could put some kind of like shield boost amplifier in here, but there just aren't quite enough mid slots for that. So the second mid slot is then going to be a Multispectrum shield hardener. Let's get those resists right up, and I do also need to just turn off the damage control there, the assault damage control. You can see we have really solid resists across the board, even without the damage control active. If we activate that, we go all the way up to 92 to 96% resistances. Without it, we're between 74 and 84. Sorry, 68 and 84. A little bit weaker there on the explosive and kinetic, but it's still going to tank damage really, really nicely, and you don't need to run this all that much. And even though it's only 224 per 3 or 74.7 per second, that is actually more than enough to tank most of the incoming damage, even from the more DPS heavy waves of the different combat sites. Because we're going active tank, we want capacitor stability, and remember there are going to be a lot of neutralizing enemies in these anomalies as well, most notably in the Fortification Frontier Stronghold and the Oruze Construct, I think it is, that has the 4 upholders in the first wave, so you are going to want some neutralization. Therefore, I've gone for a Thukker large cap battery. You could also go for Republic Fleet. Some people prefer one over the other. One of them gives you more battery, the other one gives you better resistances to the neuting. For me, they are much the same. Go for whichever one happens to be cheapest on the market for you at the time. Then, finally for the mid slots, we have a 10 meganewton Afterburner II. Do you want to bling any of this stuff out here so far? I don't think any of it's necessary. Keep the fit cheap. And I know 524.2 million doesn't necessarily sound like it's cheap, but when you compare that to 700 million for a Tengu or 1.3 billion for a Rattlesnake, this can run all of those same sites as they can, but for lower cost. It's cheap when you consider what you're getting, and I made about 200 million in an hour with this, so in, what, 2.5 hours you've got the cost of this ship back, and then everything else is just profit, which is well worth it in my opinion. For the low slots, we have that Assault Damage Control 2. You've seen, if I turn that on, how that affects the resistances up there. It's not huge. You could probably just swap that for a standard damage control unit, but if I'm running an Assault Cruiser, I kind of want to have the damage control. You give me the bonus for it, I will fit it, right? For the rest of the low slots, I've gone for a Tracking Enhancer 2, just to be able to hit targets a little bit better, followed by 3 Gyrostabilizers 2s. Yeah, sure, I could go Republic Fleet or something there, but again, that's going to push the cost up even higher. Up to you if you think that's worth it. Now, I also have 5 in almost all of the gunnery skills. The only one I don't have 5 in is Controlled Bursts, because, it doesn't affect projectiles, right? So I have really good application and tracking skills on my medium projectile turrets. If you're not quite as high, you might want to drop one of the Gyrostabilizers for a second Tracking Enhancer. It will just help you apply damage to your targets a little bit better. It's all very well and good having high DPS, but if you can't actually hit anything with that DPS, well, yeah, what's the point in it? Finally then, for the rig slots, medium kinetic shield reinforcer 2s, fill up both of those slots, sorry, kinetic and a thermal shield reinforcer. That's what's giving us these nice bonuses here. If we do turn off the ADC, you'll see that does mean the explosive is a little bit lower. Ultimately, I wanted to get the thermal up for that, but again, you could go thermal and explosive in order to pop things around that way. It's kind of up to you. For me, this works. Might be better to go for explosive, but there we go. Drones, you've got 25 megabits per second. I've just shoved in 5 Republic Fleet Warriors that I had lying around. It's not much. You can see 68.3 DPS. Don't stress your drones too much. Just shove in whatever, literally. Hobgoblins, or is it Hobgoblins? I can never remember the small version for Gallente. Whatever the Gallente ones are, I'm sure it's Hobgoblins. Can be a very useful starting point. They do really good damage, decent application. Yeah, whatever you have available is basically what I'm saying. Again, beyond this, carrying a mobile tractor unit means that you can loot the sites that little bit quicker and easier, and make sure you've got plenty of hail and a little bit of barrage. You're going to be using hail for 90% of the targets in these anomalies, but it is worth having some barrage as well, because there are some things, specifically upholders, that like to sit at range, and being able to hit them with barrage as you approach is always very useful. Or if you're webbed and you can't get close enough, having the barrage that can actually apply at those ranges, really, really helpful. Anyway, that's the fit, that's the ship. Let's talk about running the sites. So the first site that we're going to take a look at is one you should be pretty familiar with already if you've watched my channel. It's Fortification, Frontier, Stronghold, probably the easiest of these to run. Nice and straightforward, warp in, immediately pick a direction, start moving, activate the Afterburner, activate the Multispectrum shield hardener, get your survivability in order first, then drop your mobile tractor unit, save its location, and begin the combat site. Now, the first wave has 2 Emergent Defender frigates, which will web you, and 2 Awakened Defender cruisers, which are straight up DPS. They're also the trigger. Go after the frigates first. Be aware that if you do use your drones, these guys like to web and aggro drones, so you do need to keep an eye on yellow boxing. Be good at drone control, basically, going after those Emergent Defenders. Take those out first, then go after the Awakened Defenders. Those are your straight DPS. Trigger for Wave 2. Wave 2 will then spawn. Wave 2 is 2 more of the Awakened Defenders, straight up DPS cruisers, but this time they come with 2 Awakened Upholders. Now, Upholders are really annoying ships. They like to keep range at about 30 kilometers. They also web and neutralize you. Annoyingly, they're the triggers for Wave 3, so you can't kill both of them straight off the bat. Instead, you're going to want to load your barrage ammunition, take out one of those Awakened Upholders as quickly as possible in order to essentially just get one of the newts and one of the webs off you. We don't like webs because webs are slowing us down, and this ship relies on its size and speed for a lot of its survivability, and we don't like the newts because we are active tanked, and so we want our capacitor as healthy as possible. Take down one of the upholders, then reload into hail, take out both of the Awakened Defenders, then back into barrage for the Awakened Upholder and trigger into Wave 3. Now, Wave 3 has a battleship that will neutralize you. It has 2 more Awakened Defenders, the standard DPS cruisers. It has a Awakened Preserver, which is a remote rep cruiser, and another Awakened Upholder. Since you should already have barrage loaded, I like to go after the Awakened Upholder first and foremost. Again, we get rid of a web, we get rid of a newt, then we can start going after other things. At that point, I tend to be pretty close to the pack as well. I can usually reload into hail and start shooting the Awakened Preserver. That is your second target because it is a remote rep ship and it will keep your the other ships alive longer, meaning you have to fire more shots, more wasted ammo, longer clear times, not a good thing. Get rid of that Preserver. After the Preserver, it is kind of up to you. I tend to try and spiral in nice and close to the battleship, the Sleepless Upholder, and kill that as quickly as possible. The neutralization that it does is not enough to do any real worry to your capacitor, but again, it's a big ship, so I like to take it out first, then go after the Awakened Defenders. And then that's literally the site. Pick up your loot out of the MTU, scoop it, move on to the next one. Really straightforward, really simple. The second site to talk about then is a solar cell. Now, solar cells are a little bit scary to some because they've got scrams in the first wave, but you should be absolutely fine. Same as before, land, immediately get your traversal up, so fly again sort of perpendicular to the battleship as quickly as possible. We are ideally going to want barrage loaded straight away because there is an Awakened Upholder in the first wave. This thing webs, it newts. Webs slow us down and increase the damage we're taking. Newts negatively affect our tank, so go after that Awakened Upholder first and start shooting that out. The Emergent Preserver is there as a frigate. This is the thing that is webbing, newting, and scramming you. It can be tempting to shoot that to stop yourself being scrammed so that you can get away if you need to. If you do so, you will trigger Wave 2. Do not shoot the Emergent Preserver. Kill the Upholder first, then go after the Sleepless Defender, the battleship. The battleship isn't actually already there. It's a possible additional spawn. It's not in every single solar cell, but if you have it, you want to keep your traversal up against it as much as possible. Try and be flying a beam. So keep it so you're having to look out the right window or left window of your ship, so to speak, in order to see it. That means it's going to be harder for it to hit you, meaning you're going to take less damage. Essentially, that's Wave 1. Go after the Awakened Upholder first of all, then take out the battleship if it exists, before blapping the Emergent Preserver. You can use your drones for the Emergent Preserver. You should be able to kill it nice and quickly before it starts to web them and go a little bit ham on them, but your autocannons will absolutely tear it to pieces as well if you're using hail. Having killed the Emergent Preserver, Wave 2 will spawn. Wave 2 has another Awakened Upholder, which, as I'm sure you're not at all surprised, is going to be your primary target. So as soon as you blap that frigate, swap yourself to barrage, take out the Awakened Upholder as quickly as possible to get rid of its web and its newt. We then have 3 Awakened Defenders, which are straight up DPS cruisers. We have 2 Emergent Defender frigates, which use webs, and then 2 Emergent Upholder frigates, which are neutralizers and remote reps. Again, as you might not be surprised, those are the trigger. So we're going to take out the Awakened Upholder first and foremost because of that web and that newt. Then we go after 1 of the Emergent Upholders. Get rid of that to reduce the neutralization from those and to stop the remote repping. Only kill 1. If you kill the second one, wave 3 is going to spawn, and that is absolute suicide with that many ships on grid. After the Emergent Upholder, the first Emergent Upholder goes down, I like to take out the Emergent Defenders just to get rid of the webs, because they're on frigates, they go down really quite easily. Then I take out the Awakened Defender cruisers before coming back for that final Emergent Upholder, killing it and getting on with my life. Wave 3 is a bit of a nasty one. We've got 2 battleships and 2 cruisers. The cruisers are standard Awakened Defenders, not much of a problem at all. The battleships are a Sleepless Defender, which will web you, and a Sleepless Preserver, which will remote rep you. I like to go after the battleship first of all, the Sleepless Preserver, to get rid of that remote rep. I think having a remote rep on grid is just a bad idea. It can't heal itself, but it will heal everything else around it, so take that out first. Keep your traversal up at all times. These battleships aren't as bad as some of the ones we'll encounter later, but they do still hit pretty hard if you're not keeping your traversal up. Never fly in a straight line towards or directly away from any sleeper battleship. It will hurt like hell. So orbit that Sleepless Preserver, kill it. From there, it's kind of up to you. I like to go after the Sleepless Defender next because, again, it's a big ship, it takes a while to kill, and it's got a web on it. Then I take out the 2 cruisers, the Awakened Defenders, and finish off the site that way, but it's neither here nor there. Some people go after the cruisers first and finish off with the battleship. I just like to take the battleship out first and finish off with the cruisers. Next up then is the Oruze Construct. This is one I've not actually showcased on this channel up until now, and the first wave of this is a little bit scary, I'm not gonna lie. We've got 4 Awakened Upholders, those dreaded ships that are going to web you, they're going to newt you. There are 4 of them, that's a lot of webbing and a lot of neutralization going on, and then there are 2 sentry towers as well. Now, you can also occasionally get an Awakened Preserver, which is a remote rep ship that spawns in on this. That is awful, and I kind of hate it when that happens. That is not a fun spawn. Theoretically, your plan here is to kill those Awakened Upholders as quickly as possible. We can't kill all 4 of them because that will trigger the next wave, but if we get rid of 3 of them, we are taking away 75% of the neutralization and webification that is going on. So take out as many of those Awakened Upholders as you can before going after the sentry guns, and then finishing off with the final Awakened Upholder. Now, if you do happen to have the Awakened Preserver in there as well, that is your priority. You need to get rid of the Awakened Preserver first. Fortunately, it goes down ridiculously quickly, but it does mean you're just going to be webbed and neuted for that little bit longer. You're going to need to keep up your traversal nice and high so those wakeful sentry towers don't hit you for some rather nasty damage. Just make sure you go after the Awakened Preserver first of all, if it's there, then follow up with with 3 of the Awakened Upholders before going after the wakeful sentry towers, and then coming back for that final Upholder and triggering wave 2. Now, wave 2 isn't so much of a problem. We have 1 Sleepless Defender battleship with webs and 4 frigates, Emergent Defenders, also with webs. So what we do here is we keep up our traversal against the battleship, try and spiral inwards to get a nice tight orbit around it, and then kill all of the frigates. Just kill all 4 of the Emergent Defender frigates, get rid of their webs, and then slowly orbit and kill off the battleship. It's really that simple. Wave 2 of the Oruze Construct is probably one of the nicer waves of any of the C3 ratting sites. Kill the frigates, then kill the battleship, just keep your angular traversal velocity nice and high. The final wave as well, not too bad. We have 1 Sleepless Upholder, which is a neutralizing battleship, and 2 cruisers, Awakened Preservers, which are remote reps. It should be obvious how you're going to do this. You're going to kill the 2 Awakened Preserver first and foremost, because you don't want them to be repping the battleship while you're shooting at it. Get rid of both of those Awakened Preserver cruisers, then take out the Sleepless Upholder battleship. The neutralizer that the Sleepless Upholder has shouldn't be enough to knock you into cap instability. You should be absolutely fine with that. You can just kill those off nice and leisurely and then move on to another site when you're done. This brings us then to the Outpost frontier, Stronghold, often considered the toughest of the 4 C3 sites. It's also the prettiest in my opinion. I really like how this one looks. Now, the initial group that will be there when you arrive is 3 sentry guns, these Argos, and these do hit like trucks. You need to get your angular velocity up right away. Get that Afterburner on, get the Multispectrum shield Hardener on, and do be prepared to use your damage control unit, your assault damage control unit, if things get a little bit messy. You've got 3 of those turrets. You need to be flying alongside them as best as you can, whilst also never flying directly towards the Sleepless Defender battleship. That battleship has webs. We can keep a little bit of range away from it. Go after each of the sentry guns first, though, because the battleship is the trigger for Wave 2. And you'll see it's nice and straightforward. This is more a test of your ability to manually pilot than anything else. Make sure you're keeping that traversal up. You'll notice in the footage that there are moments where my traversal drops just a little bit while I'm turning, and I take big damage. Getting hit by all 3 of those repeatedly is going to really harm the ship. So take out each of those turrets one by one, Argos turrets, then go after the Sleepless Defender. Don't be tempted to try and orbit. Manually pilot in order to keep that traversal all the way up. Once the 3rd turret is down, manually pilot yourself close to the Sleepless Defender, orbit it, and kill it. You should find that hail is absolutely fine for this first wave. You don't need anything. The first reinforcement wave, so wave 2 on this, is really straightforward. It's literally 4 awakened defenders, 4 basic combat cruisers. They don't do anything special. They're not particularly high DPS, and they die nice and quickly. They also like to orbit at 15 kilometers, so break out the hail and show them pain. It's that simple. Literally, that is absolutely the nicest wave of any C3 combat site out there. Nice and straightforward. Just shoot all 4 cruisers and move into wave 3. Now, wave 3 is the tough one. This is where a ship is really put to its test, as are you as its pilot, in regards to your ability to manually pilot your ship through space. We have 4 frigates, emergent defenders, these all have webs, and 2 battleships, sleepless defenders, that also have webs. Now, this should be fairly obvious, but essentially when you are piloting a ship that is all about being small and fast, and you have 6 webs on you, and you're up against 2 very hard-hitting battleships that, if they get a hit on you, can do some very serious damage, it should be pretty obvious why this is a difficult wave. When those ships spawn, get your traversal up against both of those battleships as quickly as possible. Shoot the frigates, shoot the frigates, shoot the frigates. Get rid of those frigates ASAP. That's 4 out of the 6 webs gone nice and quickly. Then spiral in on one of the battleships, start to take it out. By the time you've got one of them down, one of those battleships down, you're pretty much done. There's a lot of possible damage coming there, but with the Vagabond, we're small enough and fast enough, we can avoid most of it. And we've got pretty darn good resistances. Just be aware you have that assault damage control unit if you really need it. Again, I know I said in the fitting section earlier, some people don't like the assault damage control unit, they'd rather put something else in that slot. For me, that ability to oh crap button just really, really helps, especially on this site, which means you might find that if you want to run the other 3 sites, you swap out the assault damage control unit for something else, and then you only fit the assault damage control if you're coming here into an outpost frontier. To me, that's overcomplicating. I've got one size fits all here as a fit, and it just works. It's that simple. I think this works really, really well. You can do all 4 sites nice and easily with it. Yeah, you can make things faster by swapping it for another tracking computer or a gyrostabilizer on the sites where you don't need the assault damage control, but by the time you've gone back and refitted, I don't know. Is it worth it? Up to you to decide. Anyway, folks, that is everything. All 4 of the C3 combat sites there, explained nice and easily for the Vagabond to run. Fairly cheap ship, only 5,500,000. What on earth was that sentence? Only 550 million ISK for the hull and the fit, and it will run all 4 of the C3 combat sites. Yeah, I know 550 million isn't necessarily cheap in inverted commas, but the other ship that I use for running all 4 of these combat sites is a 1.3 billion ISK Rattlesnake. So yeah, this is less than half the price. It's almost a third of the price of that Rattlesnake. So by comparison, I think that's pretty cheap. Anyway, folks, let me know how you get on with this one. Remember, if you are up at FanFest this year, contact me, let me know. I'd love to say hi to as many people as possible. Think that's going to be really, really cool. A lot of fun. Really looking forward to it. Otherwise, drop a comment down below what you think about this video, what you think about the fit, the ship in general. Otherwise, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.
You